Republican senators are challenging the Secretary of State's ruling that they should be barred from the upcoming term after walking out this summer. Reporter Evan Watson was at the state Supreme Court today for testimony and joins us live from Salem with the latest. Evan.
Brittany, lawyers for the group of Oregon Republican senators and the Secretary of State presented their arguments to the Oregon Supreme Court today. Now, justices will decide whether a legal loophole in Measure 113 should be used to keep these senators in their seats for years to come, or should they face punishment now for the walkouts this past summer. One sentence, part of the actual text of Measure 113, could be enough to save Republican senators' political futures. That sentence, for the term following the election after the member's current term is completed. Senators believe that any disqualification from office would apply years from now because elections take place before terms end.
You should adhere to your precedents. You should not construct a new rule, and you should basically allow the legislature or the voters to fix the problem.
Senator Tim Knopp is one of the senators challenging the Secretary of State's ruling, barring him from running again in 2024.
I don't think that the state really has much of a leg to stand on here because the Secretary of State, through the DOJ, is interpreting this measure to mean something that it doesn't say.
Measure 113 was intended to dissuade senators from walking out on the job, stopping all legislative sessions without a quorum.
The ballot title caption, for example, which appeared literally right above the yes and no bubbles that voters filled in on their ballot, was unambiguously clear that this measure applied, that this disqualification applied for these legislators' next term of office.
But the attorney for the senators told the Supreme Court the ballot explanation got it all wrong.
These were just explanatory tools, and you know what? They were wrong. The arguments in the ballot title sold this measure based on certain assumptions that were wrong.
The Secretary of State's attorney argues it matters what voters read on their ballots.
Why should we treat those as more significant?
The reason why this court does not interpret constitutional text in isolation is because there is a significant risk that in doing so, it will subvert clear voter intent.
Now, Supreme Court justices will decide the senators' futures after they racked up more than 10 unexcused absences during the walkout this past summer.
Chief Justice, you asked, why did nobody notice this at the time? This was vetted by a lot of people. It went through a ballot title process, the voters' pamphlet statement. Nobody mentioned this until after the 2023 walkout was already underway. And I think that's telling.
So the big question here, when will justices make this decision? A Justice Department source told me the expectation is that the Supreme Court will fast track this decision because of the impact on legislative races for the upcoming year. Tim Knopp himself said he expects a decision before he would need to refile again in March for the upcoming elections in November. So consensus is by sometime in February, if not before. Brittany?
All right. Thank you so much, Evan. Keeping an eye on this and following it for us.